4 cartels to 5 cartels that don't pay their cuts to the big globalist banks, just like the FARC guerrilla are being attacked in Colombia for not laundering their money through the stock market. That's even in Reuters. And that this whole thing is a destabilization program to knock out their competition, to have the border crisis be so bad that we will accept the North American Union, as the SPP documents state, as the so-called solution. Joel Skousen, A, what is the situation in Mexico from your research? B, what do you think's behind it?
Well, you've really covered that very, very well. First of all, there is an official drug pipeline connected with Mexico. The trucks that are sealed on the Mexican side of the border that come across to San Diego have drugs in. The dogs go wild. They can smell the drugs on them. And every time a DEA agent goes up to try to say, can we break the seal? Can we block this? Washington says, no, you cannot intervene. So there is a real, Mexican-U.S. CIA drug pipeline going on. You're absolutely right that these drug wars are involving competitors. There will always be competitors trying to get in on this very lucrative trade. And there's always infighting going on with people trying to take a bigger cut. The CIA always having to discipline. And they use the Mexican mafia, essentially, to do that discipline to them. But that's what explains the Mexican troops coming across the border in support of drug. Those are mostly, U.S.-approved drug shipments that are coming across. But sometimes, because Mexico is so corrupt, the Mexican military itself is bought off by the competing people with higher money, and that's why the U.S. has a problem with this. They don't know which Mexican troops coming across the border are their own boys or which ones are belong to the other cartels. But you're absolutely right about the last comment, that this whole thing is allowed to fester and get worse, because the solution to this Hegelian conflict will be we have to have a joint military protected regime across the border, and it'll be part of the North American Union. I'm not sure they're going to get there, but that's where they're aiming.
Well said, Joel Skousen. I totally agree with you, and we were able with our sources to predict all this before these flare-ups the last 5 years, and my concern is that it's degenerating, and Mexico's a failed state, and it's going to generate more of these desperate people who I don't blame wanting to come here, but once they get here, they're being used as tools by the Ford Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates. They're on record funding this whole Aslan movement.
Absolutely right, and they're funding La Raza and other radical groups as well. They want this conflict between the Mexican Americans so that they can say, well, we need another comprehensive amnesty. That will feed increased illegal immigration. All the while, of course, they won't stop the fence or build the fence, which would, in fact, stop 95% of it immediately and take all of the pressure, most of the pressure off the border.
That's right. Real fast. Jeannie in Texas, you're on the air.
Hi, Joel. Hi, Alex. Hi, Joel. I'm going to talk very quickly. My husband's been unemployed for a year and a half. He just got a job a week ago. We don't know if it's permanent yet. But the reason I'm calling is to let y'all know that I did call the Labor Force of Statistics Bureau because I wanted to know where they get that 9.7% of unemployment. And I told them that my husband is not eligible for unemployment. All these construction workers, so, we're not being counted. And anyway, he told me that the statistics, the Bureau pays the U.S. Census to conduct a current population survey on 60,000 households, if you can believe that. I go, that's not accurate. And also, he said, in construction, it's 15.9% unemployment. I just want people to know what people are hurting. They're not telling us the truth of how many people
Jeannie,
are
stay there.
Afraid to answer it? Afraid to answer your door? Did you know that debt settlement, bankruptcy, and attorneys will cost you about 10 times more than you would legally be required to pay creditors? These are not ways to help you get out of debt. They are expensive payment plans. And if you're in debt already, does it make sense to load yourself up with another payment plan? Zero debt in 90 days gets you out of debt in 90 days, guaranteed. And that's the website you need to visit right now, ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. Zero debt in 90 days gets you out of debt without a payment plan and without attorneys or going to court. ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com is the quickest solution to debt relief on the planet. If you have more than $25,000 in credit card debt, student loans, or difficult mortgage situation, we can help, and we are the only organization to provide written guarantees on the results. Go to ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com. That's ZeroDebtGuaranteed.com.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
The question is, where should the American people draw their line in the sand?
What have we got? A republic or a monarchy?
A republic is based on a constitution which protects minority rights.
Not democracy, not mob rule, two wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner.
So they think they own our land, they think they own our water, children, our education, our money.
We have to define who we are and what we will tolerate.
Somebody's going to ask you what you did during the Patriot Uprising.
You have been warned.
We have the facts. We have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. We have common law. Knowledge is power, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm so excited to be able to offer you Don't Tread on Me, Rise of the Republic. Tyranny is upon us, but liberty and the sleeping giant that is the American people is rising. A new tool in the info war. Don't Tread on Me. Order it at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139 and support independent, patriotic Liberty films.
Thousands of Americans are facing evacuation. If you or any of your loved ones might need to evacuate, you must do it yourselves. Please don't procrastinate until they do it for you. Remember the terrible conditions of those that didn't get out for Katrina. Go right now to efoodsdirect.com/Alex or call 800-409-5633 for information on the new Evacuation Pack. It contains 2 weeks of delicious, easy-to-fix food, along with the equipment to prepare it. It's packed in a rugged, heavy-duty tote for transport. Evacuations are looming with the storms and the Gulf oil catastrophe. No matter where you live, wildfires, earthquakes, floods, and storms must be escaped. Don't be like a deer frozen in the headlights of oncoming disaster. At least prepare yourself with this 2-week evacuation pack from efoodsdirect.com. Call 800-409-5633. On the web, efoodsdirect.com/Alex.
Well, I tell you, the time has just flown by with Joel Skousen joining us today. And Jeannie was bringing up the unemployment statistics. Most economists agree it's over 22%. So much of what they're doing skewed. But that was one of my final questions for Joel Skousen. What is your take on these cooked numbers?
Well, they're absolutely cooked. For example, she mentioned that they admitted to her that the construction unemployment rate was 15%. It's over 30% in the construction industry. And that's being very generous. I mean, literally, anybody. I've got a son in the construction industry, and there's only 25% that he can find that have jobs remaining. And if it weren't for, of course, all of the stimulus money flowing out, there wouldn't be a lot of construction in the major road crews, which are pretty full right now because of the stimulus money.
But you see an ongoing rotting, though. You don't see it plunging. You see it rotting.
That's right. I do not believe that it's in the best interest of the establishment to let this thing fall. That would only engender a great deal of mechanism to have change, and they don't want that. They want people to stay the course. I think they've got a tremendous amount of ability to inflate still. You've got to remember that we've got a basis of over $200 trillion that have been monetized so far. So the $3 trillion they threw at the bailout was only 1.5% inflation of the money supply. That's not hyperinflation. I spent this entire week's World Affairs Brief explaining to people why it's almost impossible to have hyperinflation without the structure in the government to inject money directly into the pocketbooks of consumers, which we don't have. They did it twice now with stimulus bills of $180 billion, and it was directly inflationary. But to get to hyperinflation, you've got to have that going on every single month in increasing exponential.
But we are starting to go down that road.
Well, the injection is happening in what I call the speculative economy. That's the one that are getting the injections from, and that's not particularly inflationary because there's only about a 20% overlap with the real economy.
That's right. So the ultra-rich are sucking up most of this while propping up their system.
And they're speculating, or they're running in the Forex and the commodities and the derivatives markets and spending that money and earning 5 to 15% on it, whereas we're stuck in the real economy making 1.5%.
And that's why they want carbon taxes. That's why all the big banks fund those.
Exactly.
Because it's the false economy waging war against the real economy. Jeannie, I'm sorry it's so tough on you. They want to use poverty as a tool of control, and we've got to get this economy going again, and then we can only do that by cutting taxes and cutting defense spending and cutting welfare. But I'm glad to hear your husband got a job, Jeannie.
Thank you, and I just want people to know in the world that people are still hurting. I mean, I'm actually collecting unemployment. I have a job, but they cut hours. The check I have coming on the 8th has 14 hours on it. So I want people to know I called this bureau because I didn't feel it was honest, and people like my husband weren't being counted. And I'm just sick of it.
You heard Joel, and I've seen those numbers as well. Over 30% for construction workers. God bless you. One last call quickly for Joel Skousen. Paul in Ohio, you're on the air.
Yeah, this is Paul from Ohio, and I just wanted to tell you that fluoride's pretty bad, but fluoride withdrawal is even worse, Alex. I lived through it, and I just had a relative that just lived through it, and they've got a weapon there. All they got to do is take the fluoride out of the water, and you're going to have a lot of crazy people. What do you think of that?
I appreciate your call. Joel, I never got to that, but have you seen all these Rockefeller Foundation documents where they admit they developed vaccines to sterilize people, and now they're on the news promoting lithium in the water to make us submit? What's your view on that?
Well, there's a real backlash against fluoride now in the water supply. I don't think they're going to get to the point of putting mood-altering drugs into the water supply. But, you can't really trust what they do. Even the chlorine is bad for people, especially in the heavy doses they put it in to make sure that they do shock treatments on it. Frankly, I don't think anybody ought to be drinking the public water supply.
I totally agree with you. WorldAffairsBrief.com. You've got a new one coming out in 2 days. Folks can go there and subscribe. Joel Skousen, thanks for spending close to 2.5 hours with us. I'm going to give you a call a little bit later today about some research we're working on together. I really appreciate your insight and you spending time with us.
Likewise, Alex. Always a pleasure.
God bless you. We're going to go to break here in a moment and come back with rebroadcast where I was getting into the economy and a host of other issues. But I do want to spend 1 minute here at the end of the live transmission to tell folks that I've got a deal going until the beginning of next week, and then we're going to cut this deal off, where you can get 5 of the films I've made or produced or appear in for $9.95. Folks, I bought these for $6 a piece. How Weed Won the West, about the phony drug war, Terror Storm, American Dictators, Reflections and Warnings with Aaron Russo, Fabled Enemies, Jason Burmas, very powerful 9/11 film. 5 films, $9.95. I'm losing a lot of money, but I want these out to you. Get them at Infowars.com. Get a PrisonPlanet.tv membership to support us. The T-shirts, all of it. We couldn't do it without you. God bless you all. Great job, crew.
We're on the march. The Empire's on the run. Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
And now